you're going to be around to assist us, hopefully getting through this difficult budget year and maybe ones into the future. So I hope that you can be, someone can twist your arm and that you can give us some assistance before you run off into the sunset permanently. Thank you.
Supervisor Gilbert, did you have a comment?
I just, Mr. Chairman, just to both Dave and Steve, thank you so much for, it's been an honor working with both of you, and the wealth of experience and knowledge that we're losing is tremendous. I do want to wish you both the best of luck, and thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional comments, let's take that group picture, if we would.
Emergency preparation. Say cheese or diarrhea or something to get them smart.
Eight more days. Okay. Okay, next item before us, the Board of Supervisors will convene as the Air Quality Management District. And next up, we'll take their item, Air Quality Management District. So, to Chris Brown.
Good morning. I'm dealing with whatever bug is going around, so I don't have much of a voice. The item before you today is a proposal that came in from University of California, Davis. This is something I've been working with them personally on for about 2 years now. They would like to set up somewhere in Northern California what's called a GAW site, which is a Global Air Watch site. There are a number of these throughout the rest of the world, one in Hawaii, one in Point Barrow, I believe Alaska, but there are none in the lower 48 states. And there are 2 proposed sites as part of this project. One is in our sister agency to the south, which is Northern Sonoma, and that would be the sea level site proposed at Bodega Bay. That'll be at the University of California Davis Marine Lab. That's at Bodega Bay. And the second site, we were in the running for, it was a very close race between us and Mount Tam. What hopefully made the difference for them was we managed to set up snowcat access to Cato Peak for them through one of our permit holders, which is was SBC. It was also Pacific Bell. It's now AT&T again. They have a microwave relay station up there on top of Cato Peak. The reason Cato Peak is such a good site is a very high elevation mountain that's very close to the ocean. They are looking to sample air packets, as we call them in the business, that are coming from China. And they're specifically looking for what pollution China is putting into the atmosphere and what impact that's having on the United States. The ground level site there at University of California Davis Field Station and at Bodega Bay is going to sample the stuff that's coming in at sea level, and this site is to sample the stuff that's coming in at high elevation. It's going to be a very complete setup. It's going to be funded with grants from EPA, Air Resources Board in Sacramento. We're offering them a very small amount, but it's important that they have local support, especially for the grant money they're going to be bringing in from other agencies. This item does say that it would be a current fiscal year cost. I don't think that's very likely. I don't think the site will be up and running by the end of this fiscal year. We only pay on a reimbursement basis. So more likely than not, we're going to build this into next year's budget. This normally would have come with the motor vehicle grants that we came to you with last fall. However, because of their delays with the other grant processes, they weren't quite ready to go when those were ready to go. The fiscal impact of the district will be fairly negligible from this, but it's a good project, and it's actually going to help create at least one job in Mendocino County.
Questions of the board? Supervisor Pinches.
Normally, I think I would be opposed to something like this. I support this. I've heard and read stories that some 30 to 35% of our bad air in California actually is traced to Canada. I think this will go a long ways to either prove that or disprove it. It's not Cato Peak, it's Cotto Peak.
True.
Anyways.
Yes.
My only concern is, what about somebody like, how can this device take, say if a forest fire or something, you know, which forest fires are prone to that area, you know, they've been in the 70s, the whole mountain burned up. But does that tell a difference of, I mean, I'm a little just curious of how that really, can you detect that air coming in off the ocean, or can you even tell where it comes from? I guess you trace the winds back.
The best way you can do to trace it back, actually, and they've done this with some samples we've taken, but actually they did a big project I know in the Rockies in Colorado, is you look at the trace radioactive elements that are in coal, and you can identify where that coal came from. So if the coal mine that produced it is in China, then you're pretty sure that that's where the burning occurred, and they can actually trace it back. There's about 5-6 years ago, there's a big story about how the brown plume that's over Southeast Asia had migrated across the Pacific, and they were picking it up in Colorado, and that was part of that monitoring project. As far as local events go, you know, they do keep track of what is happening in the local environment. So if there is a fire nearby that does impact the monitors, they document that and record it. The nice thing about this research project, as opposed to some other research projects that have happened, most notably on Sutter Peak, or Sutter Buttes in the valley, is this will not be what's called a SLAM site, which is used to determine attainment status for the air district. And what happened in Sutter Buttes was a SLAMS site was used for research purposes. SLAMS is a state and local air monitoring network. And even though nobody lives in Sutter Buttes, the air was not clean enough to meet state and federal standards. So Yuba County ended up going non-attainment for some federal standards for air that nobody was breathing. And that was quite a fight. And I've talked to them about that, and this isn't part of that network, so that won't be a problem. So if they do show exceedances up there, they won't be held against the district. Which
I'd rather have China pay this bill. But
yeah.
Supervisor Dilbert.
Well, thank you. Mr. Brown, that was one of the questions I had, is what potential are we opening ourselves up for? And I think the data is fine. A question I would ask is, what happens if we're not a fiscal partner? Is it still going to happen, or?
I would venture to guess the project would happen without us. You know, our contribution is pretty small when you look at the scale of this project. It's about a $350,000 project spread over 3 years. But I think the local support angle is important to them, and they did contact us early to make sure that we were okay with it.
What benefit can we derive specifically for Mendocino County out of the data that's gathered?
Specifically, it could help us in the future if we do go ozone non-attainment.